going to call this board meeting to order on November 17th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe we have someone for public forum, is that correct? Ms. Thomas, if you would come forward. Welcome.
So, my name is Karen Thomas, and I'm a ninth grader at Richmond Heights, and this is why I believe that teachers should be paid more. So, my first reason behind this is almost everyone knows that teachers don't get paid enough. If you say you're studying to be a teacher, people will joke about how poor they be. The truth is, it's almost impossible to support a family on a teacher's salary alone. Recent statistics show that 1 in 4 teachers consistently decline. The reasons cited are stress, low pay, and lack of recognition. The worst thing is, the teachers who consider women are those who have many other opportunities. Not retaining these high key teachers could lead to decline in student performance, and it takes years of effort training a teacher to be a strong teacher. The second reason is teachers don't make enough to support academic loans. Often it's felt in the first full-time rate and in the worst case scenario, teachers have to work the same job. Many MRH teachers work the same job. It's a shame that some of them need full-time jobs just to make ends meet. Teachers should be able to focus on improving their classes instead of having to focus on making money for us. The third reason is first thing in the mind. It is sometimes fails to answer in school. This can happen inside or outside of class. As a teacher, it's your job to help ensure that class is on time and stop it if it breaks down. If 2 students are fighting in the middle of the hallway, you prepare to call security and break it up. That's an example. In some cases, anger may be productive. Another thing to consider is school shootings. As a teacher, you are saying that protect your students in the face of a shooter. Some teachers are asked to risk their lives so to speak to teach everyone how to act in that scenario. Just recently, a teacher's killed in a nearby school as she threw herself in front of her students to save them. We spend too much time reviewing them after the school is killed. Often here, and many teachers end up saying, what am I doing to hold? And then lead to depression. Teachers put up with way too many genders to get paid as little as they do. My fourth reason is that women pay for set hours. Teachers pay from the beginning of the school day to the end of it with little leeway set time. This is about 8 to 11 days, hours a day, depending on how long they are working at a school and how long the school day is. The drama teacher, for example, who stays after school with about 50 students until 8 or 9 p.m. for weeks on end, makes less than minimum wage per person. The coach who is here before school and then stays until 7 p.m. each day is making less than minimum wage for his or their coaching hours. As well, in many cases, the extra payment is a small minimum offering of $1 per hour. Teachers do not bring about attitudes to school for 12 hours after the school day ended. They may be grading papers, attending meetings, doing lesson plans, tutoring students, and leading extracurricular activities. As said above, teachers don't typically get paid if they spend. They may get paid if they a student counselor or if they are tutoring someone around the assessment season. But let's think about all the hours they put into these extra activities in which they are not compensated at all. We unfairly rely on teachers having a good heart to give, and we then use that to compensate them fully for their work, professionalism, and focus. In the end, teachers can choose to do something else, but we do not offer proper pay, support, and benefits. Unfortunately, many of them nationwide are choosing to do so. Let's invest in them, their professional growth, and let our MRH teachers never be by their time and their efforts and them themselves.
Thank you so much. It is always a blessing to have one of our students speak to us. Board recognitions, Native American Heritage.
Madam President, we last year started a new tradition of marking the November as Native American Heritage Month during a board meeting, and in that same vein, would just like to read aloud our land acknowledgement and Native people acknowledgement. many diverse indigenous people connected to the land on which we gather. There's also a link in board docs of the native land map of the United States. You can take a look at the many tribes that have called this land home and learn more about where you travel and where you live and how that is inside the native cultures of the land.
Thank you so much. Board recognitions. So we would like to recognize two of our own. We'd like to recognize Linda, who has completed her certification program, and Annie, who's also completed her certification program. Thank you. I believe you guys have something there, is that right? Can you hold it up for me? Awesome. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get an approval of the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda approved. Study items. 301, construction change order. Chris?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by saying change order 24 was actually presented last month, but it missed the action items. So we are adding it again so that we make sure that it's approved once we get down to section 7. So that one we won't need to discuss again. But change order 25, we had changes related to electrical work, over excavation of building A, which hopefully should be all but complete, the over excavation piece that is. Drywall patching, removal of an unknown concrete slab that we found, and temporary ADA access to our track restrooms for our events, and also removal of an unforeseen roadway that was discovered out here. So some of these happened a little bit earlier in the school year where paperwork's getting caught up. So the changes related here are just under $94,000 for these change orders.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Board policies, personnel shift updates. Dr. Shonda Ambrose-Phillips.
Good evening, Board. I'm here to discuss the board approval of policies as modified for our meeting. In July 2022, the district actually split the role of the assistant superintendent into two roles. The assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction and assessment, Dr. McGee, and myself, the assistant superintendent of human resources and diversity, equity, inclusion. The district also modified the title of the Director of Student Services to the Director of Student Services in Family and Community Relations to more adequately capture the work of the administrative role. These board policies direct parents and staff members to these administrators when seeking support. And so the rationale is to provide information of the who, when, and what it means. And parents and staff can contact administrators for support. The policies are listed below. The district recognizes that in recent years, the other piece is that the term homeless has come with some negative connotations, and so we are seeking to change the words because we understand that words that we choose to use can indicate how others actually see and view our world and those within it. And so for this reason, the district requests the adjustment of the term homeless to students who are unhoused throughout policy ICGBCA. And so the budget impact, there is no impact to the budget currently. The Missouri School Boards Association Policy Department provides full services to Maplewood Richmond Heights School District for the annual cost of $3,479, and there's no additional cost for adjusting these policies, and the policies are listed below. So again, some of them are due to personnel changes, taking names out of the policy and putting in the appropriate positions, and then the other piece is to change the terms from homeless to unhoused.
Thank you. And when are we voting on those?
No, absolutely, we can make that adjustment to people first language.
The item says it was a reference to an MRH organizational chart, but I don't see that actually in here, or is that somewhere else?
The organizational chart is on our district website.
Okay.
We can upload it later. We can link it to this, but it's on our district website that actually shows the position changes and those names that are associated with it.
Thank you. Okay, board policy BBB-1, school board elections, Dr. Jameson.
Good evening. This policy actually came last month, and it allows us to actually shift the filing from Maplewood Richmond Heights to the Board of Elections. And so in the previous board meeting, we requested from the board to suspend the policy, but when other school districts started inquiring about having the Board of Elections to facilitate the process, MSBA decided to modify the policy. And so we felt that it was important to bring this policy forward and actually replace the previously modified policy with the new policy that is being presented by MSBA. The major changes outlined in this policy: they removed the previous process led by the district for filing with the Board of Elections. They also removed the location from the superintendent's office of Maplewood Richmond Heights to the Northwest Plaza location for the Board of Elections. And they also removed the language for the candidate filing as well as the certification. And so those are the major changes for this particular policy, and we will be asking for action of this item during this meeting. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Okay, new course proposal, Dr. Jameson.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Grant. I have not had a chance to meet you. It is great to see you all this evening. I am really happy because we just finished our esports season with a second and fourth place win for the Smash Brothers Middle School. And then we have our state tournament, state rocket league team going to Stevens College on Saturday. So almost finished. We have a couple more days, but really in a good spot. So it's nice to be able to talk to you guys tonight after a really awesome season. So I'm here to present a course proposal for the middle school called Creativity and Technology. So the goal of this course is going to be, first off, to expand our options in the middle school. Right now we have students taking our course multiple times throughout the year, throughout their 2 years with us, and so this is going to provide some extra options for them. This course will be focused on incorporating the PLTW pathways that we are doing at the high school into the middle school. We'll be doing 2 courses. One is an app design course, and the other one is an engineering course. And we'll be incorporating those into a middle school course for ours. So, name was student selected by some of my other students, so I'm really excited about that one as well. So it's going to align with what we're doing right now because it's going to lead into a lot of the coding and stuff that Casey is doing at the high school, and hopefully increase our options there as well. So, oh, and I do have it up here. That's really nice of you. So, the course will not have any prerequisites. The goal here is to keep it as flexible as it can be, and we're just going to allow any students that are interested in taking it to be a part of it. We have written the proposal. We're going to be looking at our resources and our PD over the spring. I'll be writing it over the summer, and then we'll offer it next fall. It will be a semester-long course. We're looking at a little bit most of the technology that's in there is going to be compatible with most computers. The main source, when I say technology, we need iPads for the app design course. So those would be a classroom set in the classroom. I'm not sure how often they change or changes or anything like that. Yeah, so. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
So was it 12, 950 every recurring monthly sometime?
Yes.
Yeah, it's part of the licensing for Project Lead the Way.
Yes, yes. So the 950 is the recurring piece.
And in terms of the course progression for 7th and 8th grade, neither technology, neither are creativity and technology is a prerequisite for the other.
Correct.
They can take either one or both.
Yes.
What is the professional development travel piece?
So it's $1,200 to register for PLTW courses. So each course is $1,200. Last year, the professional development was all virtual, so there may not be any registration course. It depends on if they're having it in a place that I need to go to, or if I'll be doing it on Zoom. So.
Yeah, we put it in as a contingency to make sure that like we had funding for a hotel and for mileage if it is as it's been done in the past in Columbia, Missouri.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay. This is next time. Yep. Learning management system, Dr. McGee.
Evening, everyone. I'm excited to bring this to you for your consideration. We're going to discuss it here, give you a quick overview, and then have use it in action under item number 7 today on our agenda. So a little background information. We've been using the software It's Learning since around 2015. Yes! And received the notification that at the end of this academic year, June 30th, they will no longer support North American customers. So quickly after I was hired, this became item number 1 as a priority item to focus on. So the fact that we've made it to today is a very exciting moment for me because it literally has been something I've been focused on since July 1 as an area of emphasis. So brief overview of what a learning management system is. Just allows students to access content provided from the teacher either synchronous or asynchronously in order to be able to chart a path towards demonstrating mastery of a concept, knowledge, or skill. There's a great video. We're not going to watch it, but in case you want to learn more, it's there. And the other thing I'm going to throw at us to discuss and really understand is that we don't currently have a way for our community to access our curriculum. It is, if you are enrolled in a class and you have a student in that class, but it is not currently transparently available for our community to access. So one of the other items that's a part of this proposal is taking those items that are currently held inside It's Learning and making those items available for our community utilizing a website and tools, just simply using Google because that is available and easily available for us. And we'll talk more about what exactly those documents can look like and could look like in a future board meeting. But for right now, part of this proposal is taking those things out of the learning management system and making them available for our community as a whole. By the way, please stop me as we go through so that way you get any questions that pop in your head at the moment. So we did do a selection process. So like I said, we've been learning about this since July 1. One of the main things we wanted to do is utilize the tools that we already had in our workforce, and that was specifically our Teaching and Learning Council, because that touches all classroom teachers and all district administrators. So that was our main area to form a committee. Out of that, anyone could be involved in the subcommittee. These amazing humans jumped up and said, I will give additional time, effort, and energy to evaluate a learning management system, and did so with no additional compensation. And I cannot thank them enough for that extra effort to do that. There will be 3 teams that we're going to convene throughout this process. The first one was selecting the tool, which we have completed. The second team is happening right now, which is migrating items out of its learning and in to our new learning management system. And then the final piece of the puzzle will be engaging our workforce around what do we want integration to look like, what level of professional development do we want to see, and how might that look like, and how might that look as it's being deployed. I linked for you the evaluation rubric so you knew what we were looking at. So our proposal tonight is to really take those 1 pieces and make them 2. 1, adopting Canvas as our learning management system selected by the subcommittee and approved by the Teaching and Learning Council. And second, to establish a curriculum warehouse utilizing Google Sites. And the reason why Canvas is it provides a lot of the traditional things you would expect, and it scored unanimously as the first choice from our subcommittee. Correct. So amazing. So one of the other logical connections is it's used by a lot of area K-12 school districts as well as areas of higher institutions of higher learning. So our students that are enrolled in a course and launch through Springfield Public Schools will be able to be very familiar with the platform because it looks the exact same. So it's already in our district, if you will. We are interested in utilizing Google Workspace for Education, which is what we already have, to hold all those documents and make them available for our community. So the transition and budget impact, we're going to continue to survey. We're going to continue to pull those 3 teams together, and we're going to seek to make this available to our staff on February 1st, so that way there's at least 4 to 5 months of overlap with the 2 systems to ensure that the migration happened correctly and that there's a support during that process. The budget comparison, I wanted you to see a little bit around what happened when we purchased It's Learning back in 2015 and what we're proposing with the Canvas proposal that we've provided attached to board docs. So you see that there's an initial implementation fee and then there's an annual fee that will happen starting next year. And then there is an additional add-on that, of course, PowerSchool says, if you're not using our tool, we're going to charge you to integrate our tool with your tool. So they added roughly about $1 a student. So I estimated that to be around $1,500, give or take, for that. But really the invoice features were all a part of the survey that we did of our staff on what are the things that they really wanted to make sure happened with our learning management system. One was 24-hour, 7-day support. They wanted that no matter what, so they could get help when and if they needed it. They obviously wanted the software. They wanted a training portal, so that way they could asynchronously go through courses as they wanted to. And then we're going to be working with the implementation team on how we might recognize that additional time, effort, and talent that they're putting in there. The configuration work, the project management of us doing the transition, and then a really large part of that, I shouldn't say a large part, about a fifth of that, so it wasn't really that large, is around data migration. One of the things that we heard loud and clear was our staff said, we need help. We don't have time to do all the things we're doing and also do the data migration themselves. So luckily, we made contact with an amazing group of educators in Maryland at Harford County Public Schools, who also left It's Learning and went to Canvas and also did this exact same protocol. And we got to look at their setup and see what Canvas did, how they did it, and they really guided us through this process. And then we're also interested in purchasing 2 templates, because what we heard from our teachers is we don't want to just dump things in there. We want it to be structured on how it should look, so it's consistent from teacher to teacher, it's consistent from school to school. So we're choosing 2 templates, and I know you're saying to yourself, but we have more than 2 sets. We are focusing on a K2 or a preschool to 2 template, and then a 3 to 12 template. And if we need to shift that, we can. There is an additional cost for that additional setup. So in summary, I would like to shift the curriculum resources and also purchase Canvas as our learning management system. questions?
Can you point out to us, there's a reason why it's being brought to us today and we're voting today?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So one of the things that's very important was we heard about the emphasis on having overlap. We really wanted the process to happen for teachers to be able to log in, ensure that their items were there, and then not happen in May. So the goal here is that when we approve tonight, I'm signing tomorrow. I'm starting our data integration process within the next week, and also the migration process. I will be perfectly blunt and honest and say that the getting things out of It's Learning has proved to be more complicated than it needs to be. And we've got a whole team internally working on it, as well as paying for that service as well, because we do want to create a little redundancy in the data. Because if you've ever moved a file, every once in a while, it can get corrupted, something can go wrong, and we don't want to be caught off guard. So the reason why that is happening, and we moved a board meeting and didn't meet twice this month, so I was going to bring it to us earlier this month, but that didn't happen. So I did post to the board notes, so it was available for our board to interact with it, ask questions throughout the month, so this was not a surprise for the community or our board tonight. Great question.
How are our teachers with this? They're in the middle of the school year, they're using it learning, and using Power School, and now we're throwing Canvas at them, and I completely appreciate that everyone else is migrating, first of all, but how are we supporting them in this transition? And I'm assuming, or I'm imagining the professional development has already started.
Nothing has started yet because we don't have access. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a top priority within the next month or two to help teachers.
Yeah. I think the key thing there is that there's zero expectation for you to log in or interact with it until the time is right. And there will be time during our CAT meetings that are scheduled during second semester so that we can ensure that the data migration took place and the things that they expect to be there are there. So phase one really is just about making sure that the things are there. And then the next step is working with that implementation team to design what we want professional development to look like. I have an idea for that, but I can't be the architect of that. It has to come from the classroom teacher, so that way it matches the needs for that. I imagine there will be some support for any over the summer work, and that's why I talked about that training portal that's available and compensation for that. That is a what I call like a certificated process, meaning if you complete the course, you get a certificate, and we can translate that certificate to the opportunity to be compensated from a stipend standpoint. So we're going to be looking at that, but that'll all be on next budget year. Because all that work would traditionally happen over the summer and would be awarded, if you will, under the next fiscal year. There is also InstructureCon, which is a conference that happens over the summer because Instructure is the company that owns Canvas. So that would be a targeted opportunity for our implementation team to make sure that they get the opportunity to immerse themselves in the Canvas experience. And then another piece of the puzzle we've been talking about is how do we create ambassadors, if you will, in each of our buildings, so we're not solely relying on our tech department, but also creating leadership opportunities within our building and compensating them for that additional time, talent, and task. We've heard and utilized the term Canvassadors, which are ambassadors of Canvas. So we'll see if that makes its way to its eye roll status. That it could possibly be.
So, on the screen where it says what could possibly go wrong, is that something you guys would test once it's approved, and how much extensive testing you're going to do? Because I know that anything that's new, like you said, anything can go wrong.
Yeah. So. Yeah, two real big things. Obviously, during the migration time, there's a project manager at Canvas that ensures we go through the process and all integration from a Power School to Canvas happens, and all those things get set up. The other piece of the puzzle is a workshop we're going to be doing at our next CAT meeting in December. It's a protocol called a pre-mortem, and it's an activity where you imagine that an implementation has, spectacularly failed. What are all the things that went into causing that to fail? And that allows us to put all the guardrails in place to ensure that that doesn't happen. It's a really fun strategy, and if you learn more, it's in the Harvard Business Review, pre-mortem. Check it out.
Thank you.
I have one.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate the meeting. The one thing that I'm a little interested to know what the discussion was on the curriculum warehouse. I like the idea of transparency, but I'm curious if you thought through, if we have community members or parents who have questions or want to, ask questions or ask for changes to the curriculum, more so than they would currently. Is there a process? Is that very clear how that sort of thing gets I just don't want you to be overwhelmed.
Sure. Yeah, there is, board policy that we can reference in regards to making those requests and making that process request be known. The key piece of this site is being able to make it easy I'm not going to be able to say it. Easy to navigate. There it is. And also be able to know who is a touch point that's close to their son, daughter, child, whomever. That they can interact with. So it's also identifying who might be the CAT team leader that's closest to that, and creating some easier way to reach a touch point that doesn't directly go to me or to somebody who may be farther away from the actual moment that they're having issue with.
I have a related question. Just wondering, obviously this is primarily a tool for teachers and staff. Is there an expectation that this is a tool for parents as well? I don't have any firsthand experience with how parents in the district were interacting with this learning over the last 2 years. That hasn't been part of our experience, but if we're replacing its learning, is there an expectation that parents checking in on their kids?
Can I just tell you, the parents in this learning, it's not
I
easy.
am aware of
Canvas, just in my brief virtual summer school, is called Student and Easier for Connectionality. But I am curious about ECC and elementary school families, because we didn't use any of its learning in those schools. It was really a middle school.
Yeah, so to answer both of those from the Canvas perspective, there's a role called observer, and that observer role will allow the parent, guardian, whomever is that touch point for the child to be able to be tied to that student, and then be able to access the content that the teacher posts as well as the performance of the student within the platform. So the observer role would allow the Canvas app to be a touch button from a phone or from a laptop to be able to access how the student's doing and what the student is doing. So that'll be very exciting, I believe. And then from an ECC perspective, part of that implementation team is going to define what that looks like. Oftentimes, when I've been in this role supervising this transition in the past, this is my third adoption of a learning management system in my career, so this is exciting for me, is that we really utilize that as an opportunity to communicate with parents. It becomes the place where the newsletter sits. It becomes the place where our communications lie. So it allows us to have a singular place where we're funneling information as opposed to a seek and find kind of situation. So it's less on the child navigating Canvas and more as a resource for the parent to be able to have that communication between the teacher and the school. But again, that is not for me to define. That will be what our implementation team works on.
From a parent perspective, I would recommend moving to a better technology mix that we
Ooh, utilizing the name already. It's catchy.
This word's enthusiasm,
This-
those of us who have lived in Power School know how much fun it is. So something to be celebrated and hopefully all spend some time on campus and students.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we'll need to nudge our kids forward on the platform and train them as much as support our families through this transition. No doubt.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Frontline systems modules, Shonda Amherst Phillips.
Pulling it up for you. So Frontline Education has a couple of different platforms that I'd like to present to the board tonight. Recruiting and Hiring, Frontline Central, Professional Learning Management, and the Employee Evaluation System. So currently, connecting Frontline to Maplewood Richmond Heights will be allow us to connect all of our programming together. So connecting our recruitment process, our hiring, our attendance, professional learning, and also our evaluations in one centralized place. And so we currently have a hybrid model. We have some paper processes that we utilize for some of these systems, and then we also utilize Talent Ed, the applicant tracking portion, and also Perform. So this would be one central storing house, a single sign-on, which would make our processes more efficient and more effective. And so Frontline Central is a human capital management system, all in one place, again, as I said, and it goes in depth at a glance. And so really centralizing our processes, it increases our efficiency. This actual diagram shows just a journey of a new hire once they have accepted a position in the district, from recruitment to hiring, throughout that process of onboarding that staff member. And I'll go in depth into some of the other slides, but it really just shows you each step in the process, how it becomes more simple, simplistic and user-friendly on both the side of the district and then also for the individual, the staff member themselves. So in terms of the recruitment and hiring, it allows us to be able to post applications unlimited on a platform. We are able to create, track, and manage all of these positions in one place. And then we can also see individuals who have viewed our applications and haven't applied for it. And so this gives us an opportunity from an HR standpoint to do some proactive recruiting and target specific applicants and encourage them to apply. If you're looking at the position and we know that we want to fill the position and we see an individual who would be a desirable applicant, to be able to encourage those individuals and let them know that they are wanted here in Maplewood Richmond Heights. This is a nationwide platform, and so not only do we have access to individuals here in the state of Missouri, but also, you know, our friends on the Missouri side and also on the Illinois side often, apply for positions in our district. And so being able to target more individuals, you'll see there are about 11,584 individuals currently who are job seekers in this platform in the state of Missouri. So that's current information. And so again, targeting all of those candidates based upon their criteria and inviting them to apply for our jobs, and we can also personalize messages to them as well. And so this position, for the example, is a special education position, but for any of the openings that we have, we can create these specialized and target announcements and personalized message. We also would be able to have a personalized landing page on our district, and so our district website, and so they would be able to go not only on our district website, but these positions would be visible there as well under the Frontline system. It would show our vacancies, and then it also would walk the individuals through that process of applying here in the district. Frontline Central is the next product, and again, it's more about the people, not the paperwork, and so a big part of human resources is just making sure that we have relationships and honor and those connections with our individuals and our people. And so it shows you the onboarding process, and then also how candidates, in terms of recruitment and hiring process, it simplifies the process by making it virtual. They get the new hire packet. Currently, we print those materials out for them, and so they either will come into our office and we have all of those papers printed for them, or we'll send those papers to them electronically, and they can print them out, fill them out, and bring them back to us. And so then we also have the issue of also storing those papers in our office. And so given the fact that we are landlocked here in Maplewood, Richmond Heights, and we also have we're running out of room in terms of storing things, being able to securely store those documents virtually will allow us to be able to streamline the process. And then the documents that we currently already have, there is a process that we can scan those documents and upload them as well, and then dispose of them, purge those documents as necessary based upon destroying those documents in a reasonable manner. So these products also go through the process of just tracking employee and managing the criteria, throughout that process of evaluations as well. Again, the district forms, all of the forms, be it the W-9, the W-4, the I-9, all of those forms are on the system, and they are able to capture those. It also reduces the redundancy too, because if they fill out the paperwork in one area, then it also generates from that particular area and pulls it into other applicable forms, which really, again, decreases the amount of time. It allows the employees to be able to track their process, and so wherever they are, and we are able to track it on our end as well to see like where they are in the process and how much more they need to complete within that process, and to send them reminders about things that they need to fill out. And then there's a single sign-on for them to also acknowledge. And then it, again, saves time in terms of eliminating some of those duplicative processes in terms of data entry. And then they're also able to sign digitally, and this becomes a secure and legal way for them to sign their signature. And so contracts, any documents they need to sign, they're able to do that in a digital format, which is really, really helpful.
Does that mean that the contracts that we sign will now be digital?
You would be able to sign your contracts digitally as well, and that's all of our contracts. And so currently, whether that is certified staff members and their contracts for employment, we also have a lot of extra duty contracts. When we hire coaches, those contracts would be signed. When we're thinking about some of our support staff, those letters of intent, all of those different things would be able to be signed digitally on both sides. And so, of course, you can see it would reduce the amount of time and also increase just the efficiency of our process, because just the paper-based process and getting it to all the people that need to sign along the way sometimes slows up, in terms of moving things along. So you would be able to sign on your end as well, correct? If you have additional questions, just stop me, but that's a really great one. And then the professional learning management system. So currently, Dr. McGee is really excited about this because this is one area where I feel like it's one of our largest opportunities for growth, because there are a couple of different systems that we use. We have about 3 different processes that we have in place depending upon your role. And 3 different processes, whether it's certified staff, whether it's administrators, whether it's support staff. And so this would just really streamline all of our professional learning in one particular area. And everyone would have the same process regardless of your role, and you would be able to access this professional learning anytime you needed to. A lot of our employees, when I think about our social workers, they're required to have continuing education units, so they would be able to go in here and to track not only the professional development that they've been involved in, but to be able to download that and be able to provide that to those licensing agencies to be able to maintain their licensure and credentialing. And so it's just a great way not only to kind of create our own catalog, all of the professional development that he does in his office, would all be here. People could sign up for that PD. We can upload our own files, and so I do a lot of professional development through Vector, either creating courses or also assigning courses through that system to people, because those are required back-to-school trainings that for our compliance for not only for the district but for the state. Our coordinator of technology, Dr. Urban, also does Tech Tuesdays, which are really neat. This is a place where we could also put them in one central location. Mr. Hoser, actually our CFO, does some Alio trainings Like, things are in different places. Really great work happening, but it's a central place for staff members to be able to access it in the moment and to go back and review it later on. And so it's just a great way of pulling all of those things together in one location. Also, in terms of managing our learning activities, again, it makes it easier, so you see that they can actually request for professional development. There's a sign-in sheet that would make that easy. Dr. McGee also does a survey at the end, so not only could they pre-register, he will have the roster, but he could also send a survey at the end instead of having to do it in Google Doc.
Good survey.
You know, to be able to look at that to see the effectiveness of that professional learning opportunity for folks. And so that's an internal piece, but externally, if individuals are going outside for professional development, because we know that we have some best practices here in MRH, but if we're going to continue to grow, that it's important to be able to go to some of those regional professional development opportunities and potentially statewide activities as well. And so this is a way for them to be able to request that, streamline that process. We'd be able to get a substitute for those positions and track the proficiencies in a much more strategic way. And all of our work that we're doing for our strategic plan, we can also tie back those opportunities for professional development and how we're investing in our staff and spending our money to make sure that it is aligned with our strategic plan as well. Then the employee evaluation management system, again, data-driven, and this is really managing. A lot of times we're spending time managing the process and not necessarily providing that continuous support and feedback to be able to grow our people, and this allows us to manage the process less because the system is doing a lot of that work for you, and to really invest in the people and making sure that they have what they need to be able to get that continuous feedback and opportunities for professional learning to be able to grow. And so this is just an example of what it would look like. Our evaluation tools would be uploaded in that. Again, it is an opportunity for them to see what they're really great at, and where they're distinguished, and where they might need some support in specific areas. So we talked about streamlining that. We talked about the fact that it's one place, location for professional growth, and that summary face-to-face that they'll have with their evaluators, and that transcript, which is exportable, they would have that as well. And then I also provided in one of the attachments our statement of work. I'm not going to read that to you. It's very long in terms of the document, so it gives you the full explanation for what that would look like. This is just a kind of snapshot and overview in terms of what that process would look like, from the kickoff call, from training the trainers, from looking at internal processes, all the way to closing this project out. And so you'll see in the attachment each step. Frontline offers opportunities not only to work with the district in both blended models of some self-paced activities for my staff and myself, and then also opportunities to have those instructor-led remote trainings with our team. And then this is more about the implementation, and it kind of, again, talks about that process and what would be happening at each level. There's also a very robust online community, and so if we find ourselves in situations where we need additional support, there are also, not only in addition to the frontline community, but there are other districts in the region who also utilize frontline. Brentwood was the last district to fully transition, and they gave us a lot of feedback that it is a heavy lift, but it is well worth it. So that was also encouraging. And then this was the selection process. And so it started in July in terms of the human resources and the business office meeting and talking about our processes. I was able to do a look, listen, and learn tour with lots of administrators, teacher leaders, just key individuals in the district to get an understanding of what is working well with our human resources department and what opportunities for growth exist. And this was an area that they highlighted, that because our process utilizes a couple of different paper-based systems and some systems that are online, it takes a little bit longer, and there was this concern that we were actually missing out on top candidates. And so we definitely don't want that to happen, and so it would really help us with that work. And so Again, you can see in each process the different things that we did, the individuals that we consulted. And then there is also a subcommittee frontline presented through various groups with the curriculum and instruction department and also with our central office staff. And then this is the impact. This is what it boils down in terms of the money. So here's a quote. In terms of this year, there's a one-time implementation fee that's close to $12,000, $11,965, and again, that's a one-time fee. And then you also see that they're going to give us access to this platform early. As the months are kind of moving along in terms of the approval process, then we'll probably lose a little bit of time, but it still will be prorated in terms of we'll get access to it a little bit earlier than we anticipated, and so that will still be good for us. So that's the total cost. The recurring cost for the 23-24 school year is about $15,000. I wanted to make sure that you also understand that this will be offset, because I spoke about the fact that we currently use Talent Ed for some of those pieces, and so the perform part is about $6,700. The applicant tracker is a little over $1,100. And then, so that's $7,831 that will be taken off this price. And then also for Vector Solutions, we pay them about $4,631. There's some internal training within Frontline. Before I actually remove that option, though, I want to make sure that I know for certain that those training options that are within that system are comparable to what we have on Vector, because that is state compliance. And so it is a possibility that we might remove those services as well. Also, just thinking about additional costs, you can't really put a price on our human, our personnel and the people and how much time it costs, and then also the printing and the paper. But that is something that we would drastically save on the time that we're utilizing for personnel, and our printing budget would certainly decrease, I'm sure. And then the cost for the learning management system itself, we can tap into our title funds for that. And so that one-time installation fee of $1,980 could go through our title funds, and then also the annual fee of about $4,000 would also be paid through title. And so I wanted you to know the full cost, but I also want you to understand how we could potentially save by some of these budget offsets as well. So what questions do you have for me?
I do have one question. So if you look at the draft of the cost for the annual recurring fees, itemized portion, should that be equaling the $15,882?
Should that be equaling?
Yeah, so the way I'm reading it, which is probably part of the problem, is I am reading it as annually this is going to cost about $15,800, right? And that is broken down under the section that says annual recurring itemized description. No? Because it doesn't add up, right?
The one-time fee is almost $12,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then the prorated for early.
Right.
Right, but that's higher up, I
The
thought.
19, but then on an annual basis.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
So it says pricing overview, and that's where it talks about the one-time fees and the annual recurring fees.
Yeah.
But then it looks like it's breaking down the annual recurring. Do you see that part? Where it says that.
Yeah,
annual
okay, I
recurring
see what
is
you're
in
saying.
Itemized description. And so at first glance, I'm assuming that's the breakdown of that 15.8. But then it adds up to more than 15.8.
And I think if you look at the attachment where it has the statement of work, the pricing is on there, and it's a little bit easier. This was just a snapshot of me trying to show you this. But if you, it should add up.
Not an action item that you think that we could get more detail.
Right. So the order form, if you look, so that gives you the actual breakdown, and it should, I can get more information to make sure that it's more easily communicated.
So
third
what I would say is just check on it for yourself, and then let us know.
So there it is right there.
that it's
So
accurate.
but some of that, so like the 3,900, that's going to come out of title funds.
Right.
But
So we're not getting all of these, that we're only getting certain
services under there. I see what it's doing. So the 3993 twice, we're getting that, and then we're getting the 7896. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Similar to the learning system, and is there any other transition items either people or cost?
I think, so part of the transition will happen through Frontline. They will support us in transitioning some of the documentation over. I think the challenge will be the things that we have that are paper-based. That's where it's going to be a heavy lift, and I just anticipate that we'll have a timeline of just trying to. It's kind of almost like the filing piece. It's one of those things where it's going to be piecemeal, and realistically, the ebbs and flow of my department. When we have time to be able to upload those documents and transition them over, then we'll make that a priority. But it's going to be more challenging for the paper-based systems, the electronic processes. Frontline has provided support and will provide support to the district in that capacity. So
that means that offset really has happened, and then turn off those existing you can turn that off and you won't lose any that's there. That will whatever
So the goal of why we want to be able to have access to that now is for us to be able to transition. So everything that we have in Talent Ed, we're going to focus on transitioning that over before the next school year. And before we have to pay for the upcoming school year. So that's going to be the priority. Once it's turned off, I don't anticipate that we'll have access to it after the fact. So that is, again, where we will focus our attention, and we'll have the support from Frontline to be able to do that. But I don't think that we have some of those documents that are also electronic and they're also paper, and so we'll have access to the hard copy. But if we're no longer paying for that service, then we will not have access to those documents. I understand your question now. Mm-hmm.
So you don't expect that we'll be able to have the upcoming recruiting cycle handled through Frontline necessarily?
So our goal was to be able to actually have this process in place for our upcoming hiring and recruitment season. That certainly was our goal. I will tell you that this timeline has pushed back a couple of times, and so when we initially wanted to be able to approve this expenditure, it was kind of thinking about having it approved for this month. Now we're looking at potentially December, and so just thinking about as time continues to move on, what is realistic. But the hope was initially to be able to start off in the spring with the hiring season, being able to onboard new applicants, and we might still potentially be able to do that. But to be able to do that simultaneously while we're also trying to retrieve the records from the current employees that we have with a very small, but amazing department is going to be the question. And that might, require for us to be able to have some additional support if we decide to do that with, retired secretaries and additional support in that nature. But that's not something that we have, we're not really sure until we get down that road. But again, the goal was initially for us to be able to transition and have this ready for our hiring season. If not, if that's too ambitious, then we'll focus on next year.
Would it make a difference if we had a special work session to just vote?
It would.
Okay.
More time would be definitely.
I'm pretty sure that we're all willing to do that.
Okay, because that was the question I asked Dr. Jamison, because sooner rather than later would allow an opportunity for my team to be able to transition this, to have more time for this transition. and the other work that takes place in the Human Resources Department on a natural, any given day. So time would be a gift.
Okay. Then,
Actually, a little less, but yes, about 260-ish, yeah. We have piecemeal, we have piecemeal processes, and so we have some things here, and so this would just streamline that process and make it so much easier. And when I first came in and interviewed and met with my department, it was one of the top priorities for my department as well. I think they've asked for this for a while. So they're excited about this. They understand it's a lot of work, but they're really excited.
we're excited for them.
The business office is pretty excited as well.
Absolutely, the business office. And they're thinking about all the things where it's going to make their life easier as well. So
The professional learning office is excited.
he has told me several times, whatever
No
you
more
go
paper.
with is better than what we have right now. So everyone is excited.
Yes.
And the gift of time would truly be a gift.
Well, the school board is excited as well.
Okay.
So let us do it. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions? Strategic planning update, Dr. Jamison?
Awesome. We had our second strategic planning work session on November 10th, and it is always a great time to get with our community and engage in conversations, and they continue to show up, and so for me that's exciting, but I'm always excited about our student representatives. So thank you to Abraham, Terrence, and Dizzy. They come to the meetings, they share their voices, their perceptions, which is really exciting to hear and see, particularly when we talk about lifting up student voice and also giving them an opportunity to serve. So the focus of this particular session was on reviewing the core values, the vision and mission of other districts, as well as looking at the drafts from the core values, vision and mission that the board actually created, and they provided feedback on those items. And really we also grounded in what our fundamental cause is as a district, as well as what our hopes are for our district as well. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 12th. And for those who are interested in actually reviewing of any of the items or the survey information that's gone out, or a list of those individuals that are on the steering committee, that information can be found on the website. And if you go under programs, there's a spot on the website for strategic planning, and you're able to review any information up to date that we've had. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Okay. 402, communicable diseases.
There we go. All right, so we will continue to report our COVID tracking data as the numbers continue to change. We are no longer having the COVID task force meetings, and we no longer receive any of the data that we previously received prior to some of the changes that were made through the St. Louis County Department of Health. This data was actually retrieved on November 11th, and you can see that we had multiple active cases in each of our buildings. When I looked at the data again this afternoon, we only have one current case, and that is actually at the ECC. So we're continuing to hold steady numbers. Our nursing department is doing an amazing job continuing to contact families and also sending students home when they are sick. What's interesting is that we are seeing an uptick in viruses within our clinics, as well as RSV, which we already have been informed that would occur. So typically that starts to spark and peak around January. So we're starting to see that occurring now, and also an increase in students through the influenza season. So the next slide, thank you to Mr. Estrada. We hosted a flu vaccination clinic on site for our staff. And the numbers that are present are indicated there by building. The ECC had 36 staff members, the elementary school 29, and the middle school, high school, and central office staff actually included 44 staff members. So total, we had 109 staff members to receive the flu vaccination, and you can see the historical numbers from the 21, 22, and 2021 school year. One of the assumptions that we made is that some individuals already probably received their vaccinations already, but currently we're continuing to look at opportunities to serve our community the best way that we can. That concludes the report for communicable diseases. I welcome any questions you may have.
Are we concerned yet at how attendance numbers this year may be impacted? I'm already totaling the number of days my students have missed this year and wondering how we're going to meet that requirement.
I'm glad you asked that question. We just had a long conversation about this in our cabinet meeting on Monday, particularly as we begin to unpack MSIP information. So thank you to Rachel Ward and Ed Rich for adding a piece for families on the district website around attendance, because right now that is a way that we receive points from an accreditation standpoint, but also how we receive funding. And so currently right now our elementary school is trending with the highest attendance. We are seeing low numbers at the secondary level, and we are beginning to have conversations around what support looks like and how we can actually support our schools, and so resources were actually provided for that as well. So to answer your question, yes, I am very concerned. The benefit, I think, for us this year with the shift in to including attendance into MSIP 6 is that the point distribution is only 4 points versus 10 as it was in MSIP 5, but then also how they are actually distributing points for attendance for students. And so in the past, it was 90% of the students being at school 90% of the time. Either you met it or you didn't. Now they are distributing based on varying bands. And so if you met the highest band, I think it's 84.99% to 100%, you get 1 point, it's 0.5, and then 0.25, and anything below 74.99%, I believe, is 0 points. So we still do have an opportunity to earn those 4 points if we are within a particular band. And so part of the conversation with building leaders when I meet with them in their collaborations is, how are you supporting those students, and how are you tracking data, and then how are you ensuring that resources are available for those families who need it. So those have been conversations, those were conversations. I do think from a superintendent standpoint, in the meetings that we have been having, we were rather disappointed that they added attendance back in, because it was not actually included if you look at the previous draft that I provided to the board, but the final draft, it was included back in. So for us, it's about keeping our community safe and healthy. Our nurses do a great job of ensuring that, but we are closely monitoring attendance, and will continue to monitor it monthly. I know.
Any other questions? Okay, construction update.
Okay, Randy is not able to be with us this evening, so I will captain this ship on my own. So I'll start off with some security updates. I noted in one of your prior board memos that we had accelerated some of our security measures that were already planned parts of this project, but given the events of recent weeks, we decided to quickly accelerate some of those. So we do have the access controls installed on the middle school office and entryway into the corridor. There are still more to go. We have this door out here for the library scheduled within the next few weeks, and we have the school guard glass for the vestibule up front here in the middle school. That's what we're waiting on there. We're just waiting for that glass to arrive. It was one of our long lead items. As soon as that's here, we'll get that vestibule finished up, and all the access controls on the north side of this building will be complete and ready for teachers. So we're excited about that. You may have noticed on the construction site as a whole over here on the west side of the building, it looks like things have slowed to all but a halt. That's not actually what's happening. Our masons are on site, our plumbers are on site, electricians are on site. What's happening right now is they're starting to lay the ground courses, base courses for the block walls for Building A. So it's actually a really exciting time, although it doesn't look like much from the street. So as in the coming weeks, we have 40 days scheduled for that block work. So within the next week or so, you'll start seeing some very noticeable things from the street. So that's exciting, because once we have block walls, we can have ceilings and roofs and things like that. And it'll start to look like an actual building instead of a hole in the ground. So as we move through, the remainder of the work that's ongoing right now is touch-up items, punch list items. There's a few items left in the Library and Media Center, or Research and Design Center. Also in the cafeteria, we've got a few more punch list walks to do. We've got another one scheduled for tomorrow where we go through with a fine-tooth comb and find anything that we feel should be done better or fully completed. Note those items for the contractor. They will then disseminate those to the subcontractors, and that work will commence as well. So that is about the extent of the construction updates for this month. I think Ed has his customary video to highlight some of the things I talked about. Right now, we're pretty much as we were. We've not picked up any time on the schedule. We haven't lost any. I can't actually do that. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm here to pick up my child. Middle school. Joan Smith.
I like that. Cleve can see over.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Cleve can see over it. Sure.
All right, Chris, financial statements, fiscal year 23.
Okay. Sorry, I was engrossed in the video and okay, as promised, I do have the new district template up, and I'm going to try and do this quickly as the slides progress every few seconds. So, revenue to date is right on track as expected. Again, our tax receipts I'm anxiously awaiting our tax receipts next month. We expect those mid to late December. But again, our cash reserves are sufficient to see us through those lean revenue times. Budget Amendment 1 that you approved last month did increase the revenue slightly, so you'll see that as we get down to the fund balance page. Here's a breakdown of our expenditures. Always like to mention that our greatest investment is in our people at 78% of the district budget on the operations side. And I won't read these to you, but expenses for the most part are down as compared to the prior year. That all really just depends on timing for the most part, based on when payments are going out the door or invoices are coming in. Again, there's a bit of that skewing going along, showing up with the COVID stipend that's not in place this year, and as some of those other federal revenues have now been depleted. Okay, here's the slide that everyone likes. You'll note that the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures has increased as a result of that budget amendment as we set our tax levy and got a truer picture of what the revenue streams from our local taxes would be. Fund balance is budgeted to be down. However, it is a planned spend down of our reserve balance as we made some staffing changes and other items across the district. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Calendar of events. Next week is Thanksgiving. You didn't know? If you're not ready, might be too late. Not a whole lot going on, of course, because of the holidays. We do still have a work session on the 1st, is that right? And the pancake breakfast was this past weekend. I hear it was a success. And then we've got the SSD Governing Council meeting, Maplewood Tree Walk. It's Friday the 2nd. And really important, board candidate filing opens December the 6th. So don't all rush to put your names in at once. Holiday open house is coming up for Mid-County Chambers. And then our Board of Education meeting will be December the 15th. And then candidate filing will close December the 27th. Are there any other events that anybody wants to mention?
I would like to mention the elementary school is having its second performance on November 29th at 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. So if you're interested in hearing some wonderful music, please come out and join us.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nice, okay. What time? 7 p.m. All right. Excellent.
Madam President, may I remind our community that I have my coffee and conversation scheduled for this Saturday at 8 a.m. at Maplewood Deli. Coffee is on me, so please come out and have a conversation and have fun.
Excellent. Who can turn down free coffee?
I'm drinking decaf.
Okay. Board committee reports.
Do you want me to pull that one up for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
While we're doing that, we went to a CPC yesterday. Yeah, I did fill out a form. Highlights. There was a discussion about how the district has arrived at our health insurance tier, who provides our health insurance, and how it has changed. So that was a large portion of that. Amy was discussing that and getting the members of CPTF to then disperse that out to the greater community. But I think that was the biggest piece of that. We have ongoing discussions, because we're at our next meeting in December, where we break out into our breakout groups to talk about future salaries and compensation, pension benefits packages. And we
academic calendar committee? Well, Lori's not here.
Dr. McGee can actually share.
Yeah, I'll just note that there'll be an invite coming tomorrow with bated breath, I'm certain, and we will get started on our scheduling the updates for the academic calendar. That'll be for the 24-25 academic year.
Awesome. Thank you. Joe's place?
Joe's place is,
Okay.
yesterday. I just wanted to return to the calendar committee and ask the question, will we be able to consider the proposal that was presented for us by our student, a couple of meetings ago?
That note has already been
Yes,
noted in
it's-
meeting number 1
Yes.
agenda.
Yes,
Awesome.
that's a one.
Update on the MSBA conference. Yay!
There are several slides here. I think the major benefit that we get from MSBA is that they do keep us up to date on staying in legal compliance with the gymnastics that happen in Jefferson City. And I attended a legal update with a number of items
voice engaged in that, focusing on career work, properly, this is effective. I asked the question of why there isn't a state public education advocacy day like there is, for instance, for the arts. I think that that's something that will continue to be a conversation across our state. I attended a session about social media. It was mostly focused on how we as board members should engage with social media, particularly around campaigning.
for,
Support.
public school.
So we're back to. Okay. I also, one of the several seminars I attended, I assumed that all boards do professional development as a board. I assumed incorrectly. So, you know, I want to say this about our board. Our board really works hard to be in it with our teachers and our administration, and I have taken for granted that we have an awesome board, and I just assumed everybody did that, and that's just not the case. So when I went to a strategic planning session, and it covered some of the things we had already covered in our retreat on strategic planning. So I kind of felt like we were ahead of it, you know, ahead of the game there. So I just want to point that out, that, you know, a lot of districts are really working hard, but some don't have the opportunity to do professional development, and so I want to commend our board on that. Thank you guys for that update. Okay. Oh, we have a couple other committees. Is there an update for school safety advisory yet?
We will give an update at the following board meeting.
Okay. SSD Governing Council, I don't have an update except for that we have a meeting coming up. And then what about wellness? Okay. Okay. Moving on to 603, Board of Education candidate filing. So filing opens on December 6th. It closes on December 27th. The candidate filing for the district will be conducted by the St. Louis County Board of Elections. Qualified applicants for the board may file a declaration of candidacy during business hours at the St. Louis County Board of Elections located at 725 Northwest Plaza Drive, St. Anne, Missouri, commencing at 8 a.m. on the 17th Tuesday prior to the election and ending at 5 p.m. on the 14th Tuesday prior to the election. And I'm assuming that those dates coordinate with the December 6th and 27th dates, because who's counting? Any questions, comments, statements? Okay. All right, on to action items. Construction change orders.
Madam President, do we need to consider amending the agenda to include the HR management and action items?
I would very much like to do that.
Then I'd like to move to amend agenda
Second.
to include action item for HR management. I don't know, Adam was so sure 706A.
And I'm secondly amending the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Agenda is amended.
Madam President, can I just say, I think we're out of order in the action items, and 7.05 needs to come after 7.06.
I would agree with that. So, Katie, I believe you amended the agenda to be 7:05 and then move 7:06 to exec session. Is that right?
Yes, well,
Okay.
that has been thank you, Madam.
Okay. 7:01 is still construction change orders. Is that right? Okay.
Move to approve change orders 21, 22, and 23 as presented.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 7:02, board policy.
I move to approve the action on student policy. Second.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Amber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7:03, board policy, BBB 1.
I move to approve board policy BBB1 as modified by MSBA.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Linda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7:04, 12-month secretary.
I move to approve the 12-month secretary position as presented.
12-month secretary. Thank you, Amber. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 7:05, board policy, BBB 2.
I move to approve the 12-month secretary position as presented.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Rachel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 705, which is now Learning Management System.
I move to approve the purchase of Canvas by Instructure to be installed as the district's learning management system.
Second.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Amber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then 706, which is now the HR Management System.
Move to approve to accept, adopt, approve the purchase of Frontline HR Management System as presented.
Well done.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Katie. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 707, executive session. Annie?
I move to enter executive session in accordance with section 610, subsection 1, subsections 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 13, and section 610, of the revised statutes of Missouri on November 17, 2022, for the following specific reasons: personnel matters, real estate matters, identifiable.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay. Thank you. All the roll call. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, 10 minutes.